Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Mehmood Khan.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. My esteemed Chancellor, faculty, and Mr. Saeed Babar Ali, our sponsor, and of course, all the parents, family, and most of all, our graduating students. It certainly is a pleasure and an honor for me to be here today. For one of the few occasions in my scientific career, I'm giving a presentation with no PowerPoint, no slides, and no biochemistry to talk about. And most of all, some of you might have noticed, no manuscript or speech to speak from. I chose today to speak what I would like to believe and hopefully communicate to you is speak from the heart. And really talk to you about a few things. I'd like to talk to you about leadership in general, but not what you might hear from the standard textbooks of leadership. There are numerous business faculty publications around that field. But leadership as a person, I'd like to touch on the issue of flexibility, the issue of partnership, and ultimately how, if you truly want to maintain a career of learning, the most important component of that is to remain humble. Because it is the humble person who actually will continue to learn. Loss of humbleness is a definitive direction to stopping a career of learning. So let me start with that. Now, for many of you, as you heard, I grew up outside this country. Approximately 50 years ago, my parents left Pakistan. And in leaving Pakistan, I had my first birthday outside Pakistan. I was 12 months old. So it is an amazing experience for me today, while you are excited as students and as parents, for me to have the opportunity to come back to my country of birth, 50 years later, having a chance and to contribute to this amazing occasion is very special. So for that, I thank you all. Let me start about talking a little bit about partnership, because partnership is what's going to allow this generation of students to change and continue to develop. Let me explain what I mean. If you look outside, if you look and read the newspapers, what do you hear? You hear about all of the crises, the economic crisis the world is going through, the natural disasters, and Pakistan right now is facing one of the greatest natural disasters that the earth has faced in the last 100 years. No doubt, Pakistanis have the spirit that we will get past that and overcome all of that. It'll take help, it'll take support, it will take partnership, internal partnership and external, but it will happen. However, moving beyond that, we're seeing around the world a movement of, if nothing else we can see, is increasing segregation. Tribalism is something that is not just happening in Pakistan. It's happening in Asia. It's happening even in the US. Just read the news. Increasingly, people are looking for differences amongst themselves rather than commonalities. Unfortunately, we're forgetting how to be good partners. So the first thing I'd like you to do as you think about this is, all of you as students are actually partners. You have shared up to 4 years together, and those of you who did your undergrad and graduate degrees here have actually spent several years together. A graduating class in many ways is a group of partners. It's a professional partnership. However, what will allow you to be successful as you move forward is your ability to find commonalities, common areas, and look to leverage those internally as well as externally. And I hope you've had the skills through the training that you've had to how to do that. That's the easy part. Let me touch on the next. It is about reinvention. More than any time in the past, anybody whose career is going to be successful is going to have to reinvent themselves, not once, but several times in their career. Let me reflect back very quickly on my own career. I started life as a typical medical student, learned to practice medicine, trained in internal medicine and trained in endocrinology. Why? Well, the real reason is because Ammi says, "Beta, doctor bano." That was the only reason. Because that's what my parents wanted me to do. I did it. I fulfilled my mother's dream. It was following that I got a chance to fulfill my own dreams. And the opportunities that come in life don't start with what you started your academic career in, I assure you. You will be engineers, you will be scientists, you will be business graduates, but most importantly, if you continue to reinvent yourself, you will continue to develop, you will continue to learn, and you will succeed. If you stop reinventing yourself, you will lose that opportunity to succeed. And I've got several people on the faculty here that I'm sure could stand up here, share their life experiences, and all of your lives have been about reinventing yourselves. Whether it was your academic career in Pakistan, academic careers in Europe or US, and then ultimately an academic career in this esteemed institute. It's been about reinvention. But with reinvention comes the ability and the desire to take risk. That is absolutely critical. If you're afraid to take risk, you will not progress. In fact, if anything, you will regress to the mean. It is the chance to take risk, it is the opportunity to take risk that will allow you to grow. The year I became tenured faculty, for those of my colleagues who have achieved tenure, the year I achieved tenured faculty at the Mayo Clinic, which in medicine was one of my aspirations, the following year I resigned my tenureship and left to start a career in corporate life, ultimately to be the president of Japan's largest pharmaceutical company. It was an amazing risk. In fact, I remember my own teachers and my parent, at that time my father was, "Beta, kya hua? Did you have a problem in practicing medicine?" And I said, "No, I want to fulfill my own dreams." And those dreams are about not treating one patient at a time, but about discovering drugs, researching drugs that can touch millions at a time. I can't do that practicing one patient at a time, but leading a research and development organization gave me that opportunity. It was an amazing ride. It was a great experience. However, what became clear is if we really look at the global problem today, the chance and the opportunity today, we have two major issues in this world. We have a shortage of water and we have a shortage of food. Those are the two biggest crises that touch humanity today. 1 billion people on the face of the earth go to bed every night hungry. 1 billion. A significant number of those are in Pakistan. They go to bed hungry. These floods will not have made it easier, will make it worse. Those people are looking for leaders. Those people need leadership to help take them from where they are today to move on. Let me touch very briefly. In my mind, I would ask you, I'm going to be leaving today with two requests. One is aspire to be leaders, not just managers. There is an important difference. A leader is somebody everybody chooses to follow. They don't have to. They choose to follow that leader out of choice. Leadership is not something a leader decides. In fact, it is the followers who pick their leader, not the leader. You don't wake up one day and say, I am now a leader. In fact, it is the followers who wake up one day and say, you are my leader. Leadership is about choice, but by choice of the followers, not the leader. So the question really is, how can you be aspiring? What will it take for you to be individuals that others choose to follow? Not dictated, not forced, but choice. What will it take? What sort of leaders will you be? And it will not come because you have the best grades. Everybody in this class has excellent grades. That's how you got in. Everybody that is eligible will have phenomenal grades, analytical skills. We know you can take those tests. We know you can pass those exams. That is not sufficient. That is just a requirement to put your name in the pool. What it will be is, can you lead from the heart? Do you have the sincerity, the credibility, the integrity to make the right choices such that others will recognize those choices even though they may be difficult and choose to follow you because of the choices you make, not the direction you give. It's going to be about the choices you make that will allow your followers to choose you as their leaders. Just keep that in mind. And the last part of my request, as I finish, is I ask you to be humble. It reminds me of a saying of the great and genius artist when he was finishing the statue David in Italy. Michelangelo was asked, how do you actually have the ability to create such masters? And he looked and turned around and he said, young man, I'm still learning. That was Michelangelo. So if any of you in this room think you have stopped learning, kid yourself not. Because if you think you have lost that humility, and with that, you've lost the opportunity of the future. 5 years ago, I went back to school. At the age of 47, I returned back to school, not to university, not to professional school, but I wanted to be a pilot. I went back to flight school, became a pilot, and became then ultimately an instrument-rated pilot. And if anybody chooses to look, if you go onto my Facebook, you will see me flying a fighter jet, a MiG fighter jet, 4 weeks ago. Why did I do that? My wife thinks I'm crazy. कहते दिमाग खराब हो गया, बच्चों का टाइम है. मैंने कहा बच्चों को बाद में, पहले मैं तो कर लूं, वो भी कर लेंगे. But my point is this. It is not, it's too late for me to be joining the Air Force. But I wanted to reinvent myself. I wanted to push myself to learn a discipline and train in a field which was so different to my own field. It taught me skills of decision making, analysis, fast and rapid decisions that I would not be making in my office ordinarily. So ladies and gentlemen, one can start as a doctor, become a researcher, ultimately a corporate leader, and even a fighter pilot jet. Fly a jet one day. It does not matter. The beauty is, if you choose to learn, and I share the jet story with you for two reasons. One, of course, is late in my life, but remember one thing. I am a British citizen, I am of Pakistani origin, and I flew that fighter jet down the Hudson Valley in New York airspace. I left it as a Muslim, as a Pakistani, and I carry that with honor and pride. Because even today, it is still possible. Everybody told me nobody will give you security clearance, and we got it. It is possible. So my last comment to you is, literally, there is no ceiling. I gave you an example. There is no ceiling. The ceiling placed on you is what you choose, and what will stop you growing is those four things. If you choose not to be a leader, if you choose not to reinvent yourself, if you choose not to take risks, and ultimately, if you lose your humility. My only and final parting request will be, when you're done today, go home, go to your mothers, and thank them once again. 。 . 。  . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。
. 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 .
。 Then go and thank your father, your elders. They may not have taught you the books, but they taught you things to think, and they taught you hopefully humility, and most importantly your values. My mother unfortunately passed away 10 years ago. She's not able to be here in this room, but I know she's here in spirit. My mother had 3 grades of education. 3 grades. She could not read or write English. It did not matter. She taught me values, she taught me work ethic, and most importantly, she told me to continue learning. And the last comment is, she taught me one thing. Beta, jab ped ko phal lagta hai, to wo jhuk jata hai. I hope you remember that. Thank you very much.